Before you even think about throwing that old unsupported MacBook into a drawer, or worse, the e-waste bin, stop. Because this right here is proof that old tech still has life left in it. If you've been around the channel for a while, you'll recognize this machine. This MacBook has starred on the channel before, and honestly, we've put it through its paces. Upgrades, software experiments, different operating systems, and somehow it's still here, still working, and still doing what it's supposed to do. And that's what this video is about. Not pretending your old MacBook is suddenly a modern powerhouse, but showing you realistic, practical ways to keep it useful, keep it secure, and most importantly, keep it out of the e-waste stream. Because every laptop we save is one less that ends up in landfill. So let's talk about what we're actually working with here. This is a mid-2011 MacBook Pro, which means at the time of recording, it's coming up to 15 years old. In tech years, that's ancient. But here's the thing, older doesn't automatically mean useless. I've done a few upgrades over the years to make this machine more capable for modern tasks, and I'm not going to go into a huge detail because I've already covered all of this in previous how-to videos on the channel, which I'll link in the description below. But just so you know what we're dealing with. This MacBook Pro has an Intel Core i5-2435M processor, 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM running at 1333 megahertz, and Intel HD 3000 graphics. And most importantly, I swapped the original hard drive, the original spinning disk, for a 256 gigabyte 2.5 inch SSD. That SSD upgrade combined with the RAM made a massive difference. Faster boot times, faster app launches, and just a far more responsive machine overall. So with that baseline set, let's get into the real options. So if you're sitting there with an unsupported MacBook and wondering what to do with it, and yes, I saved my favorite option for last. The first option is simple. Keep it on the last officially supported macOS. For this MacBook, that's macOS High Sierra. And to be fair, it still works for basic tasks like typing, documents, light browsing, and media playback. High Sierra is perfectly usable, but, and this is a big but, it is no longer supported with security updates. That means no patches for new vulnerabilities, no protection against modern exploits, and a higher risk of your personal information being compromised. So, of course, it's not recommended. Now, there are scenarios where this could still make sense. For example, offline writing, a dedicated machine for typing, connecting to Wi-Fi only occasional to transfer files, but make sure it is your own personal Wi-Fi. If that's something you're comfortable with, and it can be an option as a daily offline machine, and just a quick side note, when I first revisited this MacBook, it was actually stuck on OS X Lion. I do have a full video showing how I upgraded it from Lion all the way to High Sierra, and I'll link that below in case you're dealing with something similar. The second option, a lot of people ask about, OpenCore Legacy Patcher. This allows you to force newer, official versions of macOS onto older hardware. And yes, I've done this. I've documented it, I've tested it. The short answer, it works. But there are some trade-offs. Performance-wise, newer versions of macOS do run, but they're noticeably slower, especially as Apple continues to optimize for newer hardware. The bigger issue, though, is app compatibility. As developers move towards newer graphic standards and APIs, apps that rely on heavier graphical capabilities, like DirectX, simply stop working properly or at all. Things like maps, certainly editing software, anything graphic intensive. The Intel HD 3000 just can't keep up. Now, if your use case is web browsing, YouTube, Office documents, light productivity, then honestly, it worked absolutely fine for me. And you do again benefit on the ongoing security updates, which is a huge plus. If you go down this route, my advice would be aim for the earliest macOS version that still receives security updates, rather than jumping straight to the newest one. That gives you the best balance of performance and security. Again, full OpenCore installation guides, performance tests, and follow-up videos are all linked below. Now, let's switch gears. If you prefer a Windows-based environment, and stuff like Windows 11 we know is going to be too heavy for these laptops, another option is called Tiny 11. This is a stripped down version of Windows designed specifically for older or low powered machines. And to be clear, this can actually work very well. It's lightweight, familiar, and does receive security updates. However, and this is important, Tiny 11 is a third-party project. A lot of people absolutely rave about it, and the developers are clearly putting a lot of work into keeping it secure and functional, but it's not officially approved, in the same way as standard Windows releases. So, my advice here is simple. Do your research before committing. If you're comfortable with third-party builds and understand the risks, it can be a very solid option for breathing new life into an old hardware. And this comes to my favorite and the option that has worked best for me, Linux. I know for some of you that word is enough to click away, but hear me out. I've had Ubuntu installed on this MacBook for over a year now, and honestly, it's been the most reliable setup I've used on this machine. Is it perfect? No. I've had the occasional driver issues when updates roll through, but every single time it's been fixable with a quick terminal command and a bit of help from forums. And now that I know what causes it, I just run the command straight in the terminal after updates. It's just part of the routine now. One of the biggest advantages of Linux is choice. There are multiple distributions with different desktop environments, light versions designed specifically for older hardware, and the best part, you can test most Linux versions before installing them. Boot from a USB, try it out, see how it feels, then decide. For reference, Ubuntu only requires 4 GB of RAM, which shows how lightweight these systems really are without the light versions. Always check the websites for requirements before you download them, and just make sure your hardware is up for the scratch of that requirements. Compared to modern Windows or macOS, Linux is far more manageable for older machines. Performance is better, stability is excellent, and security updates continue for years. I've also documented how to install Linux, specifically Ubuntu, my initial experiences, and how it's held up long term. All of that is linked below if you want to follow along. If all of this fails, and you have an even older MacBook that still does not cope, it may not be the end. And sending it to the E-Wate pile, okay, it may not be as small as a portable monitor, but you can still use it for one. So if you need an extra display around the house, or for presentations, etc., get an adapter to convert the old Thunderbolt port to HDMI, and set the MacBook into target display mode by hitting Command plus F2. And set your PC to extend or mirror the screens, and away you go. And of course, if you really have no need and you have to get rid of it, make sure storage is cleared and formatted properly, and try to recycle what you can by taking parts out like RAM, SSDs, etc., and sell them or reuse them on other projects. Maybe even sell the boards for spares or repairs. Just keep it out of the bin, or give these to charities or proper recycling centres that will recycle the components responsibly. And this is where I want to zoom out for a second, because this video isn't just about a 2011 MacBook. It's about mindset. Perfectly usable devices are being thrown away every single day, not because they're broken, but because software moved on. By upgrading, repurposing, or switching operating systems, we can save money, learn new skills, and massively reduce e-waste. That old MacBook doesn't need to be a paperweight. It could be a writing machine, a media center, a learning tool, a server, or just a reliable backup computer. So if you've got an old unsupported MacBook sitting around, don't throw it away. Try one of these options. Experiment. See what works for your use case. And if you want a step-by-step guide for any of this, check the links in the description. Everything I've mentioned is already covered on the channel. If you found this helpful, drop a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and let me know in the comments what you've done with your old tech. Let's keep more out of the landfill and get more life out of these devices we already own. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.